In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus announces the Beatitudes to the people in a sermon on the plain. Like Moses, who descended from the mountain to give people the law, Jesus descends the mountain after choosing his 12 disciples to announce his word. He announces 4 blessings or beatitudes and 4 woes or maledictions. Blessed are you who are poor, who are hungry, who weep, and who are hated. Woe to you who are rich, who are full, who laugh, and who are honored. Contrastingly, in the Gospel of Matthew, the Beatitudes are announced in the Sermon on the Mount. There are 8 Beatitudes there, and no woes are mentioned. Luke seems to be more direct and forthright in his language. Unlike Matthew, he does not spiritualize poverty. Blessed are the poor, full stop. The Beatitudes are the central message of Jesus' preaching, and it is a blueprint of gospel happiness. And it is presented as a reversal of fortunes. It is unlike anything we would imagine happiness to be in real life. How can the poor, the hungry, or the mournful be happy? It sounds strange, like some fairy tale language, isn't it? We might recall that in the fairy tales we heard as children, there is usually a familiar pattern. It is the weakest and the youngest prince who finally turns the tables on his smarter older brothers and inherits the kingdom. The surprise in the story is that no one expects him to win, but he triumphs at the end. So too, in the Gospel, the despised and the forgotten ones finally reach the reward. The prodigal son gets back the embrace and the honor from his father, while the older brother is outside. Poor Lazarus, after a lifetime of being ignored, ends up in the bosom of Abraham, while the rich man is left to beg for water. The vineyard workers who arrive last are rewarded just in the same manner as those who worked full time. This is the reversal of fortunes that awaits the rich and the poor, the publicans and the prostitutes, the crippled and the lame stand a better chance of inheriting God's kingdom, whereas the Pharisees and the scribes are rejected. Mind you, Jesus here is not glorifying poverty or human misery as an ideal. Poverty, weeping, hunger, and hurt are not desirable states to be sought after. They are evils to be fought against. Archbishop Helder Camara of Brazil once said, "Saints may be found in slums, but we cannot retain slums in order to make them the breeding ground for saints." We believe with Jesus that poverty robs people of their basic dignity. At the same time, we are called to love the poor as Jesus did. This is the tension and contradiction that surround poverty. While we work to eliminate the evil of poverty that makes people less human, we recognize that poverty is also a virtue that humanizes us. Riches enslave the heart, while poverty makes us free from within. Jesus' own life is the best commentary of that contradiction. In the course of his life, Jesus experienced nagging poverty, not only the poverty of deprivation, but the poverty of loneliness and rejection. He experienced hunger, not just the hunger for bread, but most of all, the hunger for justice and for the cause of what is right. He wept not only for the loss of a dear friend, Lazarus, but at the loss and pain of his own people. He endured every form of suffering that a human being could suffer on this earth. He experienced it in the course of his mission. It was the outcome of his commitment to the kingdom. The Beatitudes, therefore, are not prescriptions for becoming miserable, hungry, or afflicted. They are addressed to those who commit themselves to the kingdom. Beatitudes are all about the hope that God can handle the poverty, the hunger, the tears, and the rejection. God will not keep his people at the level of being hurt and wounded. If it were so, the Beatitudes would have read like this: Blessed are you poor who weep, for you will weep even more. No, the vision of God is for a reversal of that tragedy. It happens when we share in the generosity of God and when we make the attitudes of Jesus our own. This life of the attitudes is a life of generosity. An ancient Indian wisdom story says that a thief came at night to rob from the shack of a sage. But the holy man was living such a life of frugality that there was nothing in the house to carry away. Sensing the disappointment of the thief, the sage gave him whatever little he had, the clothes he was wearing, and the blanket he usually used for the night. The thief ran away with what he was able to gather. That same night, the happy sage was sitting alone outside the tent, naked and cold. It was a crispy, clear, moonlit night. The old man gazed upon the moon for a long time in wonder and just exclaimed, I wish I could give him the moon. The joy of the Beatitudes is in the freedom to give ourselves away generously. When we make the promise of Jesus come true in our lives and in the lives of the poor. Blessed are you who weep now, for you shall laugh. Jesus turns our tragedies into comedies. We can trust in the promise and wait patiently for our happy reversal of fortunes. God bless you.